Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Scumdogs Kennel. We're having another Cryptid Corner tonight, and sorry about the wait. I had trouble getting my stream up tonight. But while we wait for people to gather in the chat, let me go off and show off some artwork from my own Cryptid Corner tonight. And sorry about the wait. Let me go off and show off some artwork from my own upcoming graphic novel, Scumdogs. Here we go. Oops. Here's my extreme 90s cover. This cover I did basically harken back to the comic books of the 90s. It looks pretty awesome and pretty cool. It has all my characters on my graphic novel in it. Well, almost all of them. The name of my graphic novel is Scumdogs. It's a parody book. I parody the cartoons we all know and love when we were growing up. So you'll see characters you will have seen when you were a kid, watching them on the afternoons or on Saturday or on weekends. Particularly the stars of my, to get into the Scumdogs is about these supervillains out to take over the world. You see, they used to convene the Scumdog sporting events held with superhuman monsters as the pro athletes. See, they're called Scum and Dogs because they trade in their humanity for money. They're led by Deathmug here, the purple guy with the metal mask, who's fighting his archenemy Buick Starpoon. They're the stars of my graphic novel. Now, Deathmug is an arrogant dictator who wants to rule the world, but Deathmug is an overblown, egocentric parody of a military guy who always thinks he's right and never is wrong. So they naturally hate each other's guts. Now, Deathmug is a parody of various villains from 80s cartoons. You can see aspects of various villains in him, the way he's designed. He looks like, the villains from Cobra. It looks like the villains from G.I. Joe, the leaders of Cobra. Like Cobra Commander, he's got a metal mask, he's got gold on him like Serpentor, and he's purple like the Shredder from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. While his archenemy Buick Starpoon, him and the rest of his team are all basically G.I. Joe parodies. See the pink pompadour hair he has over here? Now, because him and his team are G.I. Joe parodies, they each have a military specialty. I'll get into that in a little more later. Now, Buick Starpoon, as I said, is a parody of a military character, but he's also a parody of the space opera hero kind of characters as well. Like Zap Brannigan, Captain Kirk from Star Trek, Buzz Lightyear, or Buck Rogers. He's a parody of those characters as well. Now, Buick Starpoon's military specialty is that he's a captain. Now let's go over here. This guy with the mohawk, his name is Roadhog. His military specialty is that he's an army guy. Before he joined up with Buick Starpoon, he was part of the army. Now this guy over here with the mohawk, his name is Beach Pounder. His military specialty is that he's a Marine, just another Marine. While this guy back here in the red uniform driving that vehicle, his name is Blast Tank. His military specialty is that he's a heavy vehicle specialist, a tanker. So this is one of 3 different variant covers you'll be able to back when Indiegogo goes live. So there's that as well to look forward to. Looks pretty good. Mike, I'm working on my graphic novel every day, so don't worry. It's coming out to you, folks. When it's up on Indiegogo, go back it. Now let's look at Girl Friday. Girl Friday is another member of the Wild Rangers. That's Buick Starpoon's team in the Space Forces. She was assigned as Buick Starpoon's second in command because while the Wild Rangers fight the Scumdogs and save the universe, they're just idiots who destroy everything in sight. So to head off any criticism they would get, her superiors in the Space Forces assigned Girl Friday as Buick Starpoon's second in command, and she hates her job because she's a little better than a babysitter now. Over here we have Deathmug's henchmen. Because in all 80s cartoons, the main villain of the cartoon would have henchmen, and they'd be idiots. These are my henchmen. The pink guy down here is Sloppy, and the blue guy with the top hat is Murdermouth. They're a parody of every henchman from the 80s cartoon. They're total idiots and they're morons who can't do anything right, but they're going to be fun to read about. By the way, folks, hit that like button for me because it helps me fight the algorithm. Let me go over here. Over here we have a hair metal doctor who's basically a parody of Dr. Mindbender from G.I. Joe, a mad scientist. But my mad scientist is a hair metal musician as well. Well, he's also a hair metal. Yeah. He thinks of all of the stuff the scumdogs use to try and take over the universe. He does it while being hair metal doctor, because I think that's awesome. Now, by the way, folks, hit that like button for me because it helps me fight the algorithm, as well as please, yeah, because the more people that see my content, the sooner my graphic novel will come out to you, okay? Also, hit that bell and hit the part of the bell that gives you all future notifications, and please go share this video on Twitter and Facebook. Here we have Miss Breasty Melons. Miss Breasty Melons is a parody of the Baroness from G.I. Joe. But unlike the Baroness, she's a party girl who only wants to have fun. She only became a villain because she wants to have fun. All right, I looked at my artwork. I think now we're going to have another Cryptid corner tonight and having some fun. So let's get into it, huh? Feel free to hit that like button for me. So as I said before, I got started late tonight because my computer was acting up again. It's working fine now. So I said this: chilling cryptid and unexplained incident accounts. 5 strange cryptid and unexplained incident accounts from New Mexico, well, from Texas, British Columbia, North Carolina, and Washington. Let's look into these stories. A year has passed since the night in New Mexico. It keeps me, well, since that night, huh? It keeps me, it's every night every night I can't keep it to myself anymore. Yeah. Every night I think about it or something like that. Yeah, it keeps me up. Every night I can't keep it to myself. For some context, I go by firm logic and usually have an explanation for everything. But this night still seems to find its way to me. Was on a 4-day trip from New Jersey to Arizona, stopping whenever we needed sleep. I was with my friend at the time and her mother. The last stop before we arrived was the most chilling moment of my years. There was hot, and we had the windows down at a rest stop in the middle of the desert. My friend was next to me. I was seconds away from sleep when I heard it. A screech, more of a scream, mixed with a growl and a howl coming from the desert. This was paired with a rush of force, fast enough to shake the car and moving van next to us. Panic set in as I rolled the windows up and started the car. My friend looked up at me in fear. Right afterwards, I left the car with a knife tucked in my waist like it was, "Why are you going outside, you idiot?" You have a knife. Were you forced to go outside, or you parked there for the night? Let's see. I was on a 4-day trip in Arizona. My friend, the last stop we arrived before we arrived was the most chilling moment of my years. The air was hot, and we had the windows down at a rest stop in the middle of the desert. Okay. My friend was next to me. I was seconds away from sleep. You were at a rest stop. Okay. So you were doing that. So you get out. Afterwards, I left the car with a knife tucked in my waist like it was actually going to do something, and a high-power flashlight bright enough to light up the desert behind us. I looked out for the longest time and saw nothing. There was no movement and no noise to be heard. So you're out there with no gun and just a knife. And I can appreciate that fact, but why you? Why do you want to know what's out there when you heard it howling? I mean, maybe that's not too bad. I looked for the last time. There was no movement and no noise was to be heard. Everything was just quiet. I walked around the rest stop. It's not bad. I appreciate what this guy was doing. I walked around the rest stop, and among the 4 or 5 other cars, everyone had the same look of fear and uncertainty. I know I didn't see anything, but that call is like nothing any animal could make, and I haven't stopped thinking about it. Even now, it sends me chills and keeps me up. I'm not writing this for explanation or even someone's reasoning for it. I've tried to find a reason in it and can't. I'm writing this to put it out there and almost vocalize it. There's something out there in the desert, and it's not happy. Okay, this is actually pretty interesting. You didn't see anything. Yeah, but he just heard this noise, and other people heard it as well. So that is interesting. What do you think he saw, folks? This happened to me a couple of years ago. I live in rural South Texas. My house was, it was pretty good. By the way, folks, maybe we should check out Indiegogo real quick before we do anything else. Yeah. She Olympus Edition Volume 1 launching soon. Earthbound Part 2 has made $46,801. Foxy Second Chance Print 1,000 has made over $1,000. All right. Final Boss, Tyler Kirkham's Final Boss. Final Boss has made $26,100. Cyberfrog action figures has made $273,399 with 19 days left in its first 30-day run. That's not bad. Yeah, that's pretty good. I probably, as I've said, folks, going back Comicsgate books on Indiegogo. Doesn't appear to be. So it is loaded up. Record Room for the Crazies 3 has made 44,119. The Blue Bombshell has made 16,940. Not bad. The Dragon Guard has made 53,568. That's good. Zard the Dragoness has made 2,598. 19 days left. Elvira Meets Vincent Price has ended with 29,649. That's pretty good. Napoleon from the Machine is running. All right. Oh, Alien Alamo has made 87,771. The Adventures of Talos in Outer Space has made $2,981. All American Comics. Cheryl. Blackout graphic novel by Cruz. Oh, yeah. Knife Hand Blind Spot graphic novels made $38,055. 6 days left. I'll get back to the Cryptid stores in a minute. I just want to basically show you some Indiegogos. You can back this book for $25. You can also back Ninja's 2-packet for $50. Knife Hand Blind Spot graphic novel and Rock and Roll Ninja graphic novel for $50. Knife Hand and Jawbreakers 4-pack. You get all the Jawbreakers books for $100. All right. That looks pretty good. The artwork in this book looks like something from Metal Gear Solid, and I have to say that it looks nice. Look at this. Look at that. The Jawbreakers are kidnapped, and only Knife Hand can save them from they're kidnapped and taken to a floating castle. Okay. So this does look interesting. Yeah, right. Knife Hand, a member of the Jawbreakers who is only really using the Jawbreakers, his team, as a gang to protect him from his ninja clan. See, when he was a kid, he was kidnapped for ransom, but his rich father refused to pay them, so they sold him to a ninja clan. Years later, he escapes the ninja clan with his new powers, but to try to get revenge on his father for not saving him. But his ninja clan continues to pursue him, so he used the Jawbreakers as a gang to protect him from them. But now he doesn't even like his teammates. He pretty much hates them. So when they get kidnapped, he knows he's in trouble. So he has to go save the other Jawbreakers. And this is what the graphic novel is about. It's 22 pages long, and you're also getting a 26-page backup story called Garrison. Basically, it's what would happen if G.I. Joe and Cobra had to work together to save their teammates from terrorists. Not bad. And this book looks good. Here's artwork for Garrison, and it looks good as well. Both of them look pretty good for a book. Here's other artwork for this graphic novel, and it looks good as well. That's Knife Hand, the graphic novel, $38,055. It's got 6 days left. Go back in on Indiegogo. Okay, I looked at this for a while. I think I did pretty good here. Let's go back and look at this. This happened to me a couple of years ago. I live in rural South Texas. My house has a sunroom in front of our living room with 2 windows. One night while families spent the night, I'm asleep on a couch facing the left-hand window. The sunroom has a glass sliding door. That's pretty good here. Let me read this a bit more. This happened to me a couple of years ago. I live in a rural South Texas. My house was a sunroom in front of our living room with 2 windows. One night, That's pretty good. So what do you think of what's going to happen in this one, huh? So what do you think it's going to see? This happened to me a couple of years ago. I live in a rural South Texas. My house is a sunroom in front of our living room with 2 windows. One night, while the family spent the night, I'm asleep on a couch in my face, with my facing the left-hand window. The sunroom is a glass sliding door, and I left it locked. Okay, so what do you think is going to happen, huh? Very strange. Very strange. And this also, yeah, I guess you'd always like the door. He had family with him, so there's that as well to consider. So that's very strange. I keep rereading this part of it over and over again. Sorry about that. This happened to him a few years ago when he was living in, when his family was visiting him. One night when his family was visiting him, something very strange happened, huh? That is interesting. But I should probably get more into this. I woke up at around 3-4 a.m., opened my eyes with something staring in at me. I stayed still for a solid minute, which felt like an eternity. I ran as fast as I could to my family room where my grandpa was sleeping to tell him there was someone watching me sleep. He walked with me back into the living room, and it was gone. I didn't see it well as it appeared as a silhouette, but I knew it was alive as it was semi-swaying as it stood there. This happened when I was around 15. Here's another story as we get into these other cryptid stories. I'm around 15. I'm 19 now. I'm still thinking about this, but until this day, I never knew what it was, and I was hoping to get some answers. So it's around 3:30 a.m. in Greenville, North Carolina. I live in a little neighborhood in a rural area surrounded by woods. Wildlife is coming. I hear my dog barking. So I go up and see her staring at the window. I didn't see anything, and so I go outside to the front porch. Interesting. In my yard was a mangy looking coyote fox. It was too dark to see clearly. The only way I could tell was the street lights. It had no hair on its tail, and it was very thin. It looked sick. It had hair missing from its face. I yell at it to get along because I'm tired and my dogs are yapping. It just doesn't leave. It lingers around for a while, and being 15 and stupid, I decide to scare it up by getting closer to it. Then the scariest S happens. It stands up on its hind legs, and its legs were naturally long and deer-like. They looked like they were bent backwards. It occurred to me that this wasn't exactly normal. Thinking about it now, it looked more deer-like when it stood up, but looked canine-like on all fours. It was as if it changed forms. It sprints off on its hind legs like a human, taking huge steps, and runs off near the train tracks of my house. It stopped sprinting midway near the streetlight to look at me, and I got the F inside. Its eyes stopped glowing when it stood up too, and its ears changed as well. It looked more deer-like as well, but I swear it was a canine with big fox-like ears. But then it was almost shaped like a deer. Anyway, it freaked me the hell out, and I can't find any information on what it might be. This was just 2 years ago in Western Washington in the Olympic Mountain Range. Myself and 3 friends were walking to my house from one of theirs. It was just past dusk, and we can still see just fine. We are at the end of my driveway when we all see this thing. I've heard about not deer before, and the only thing I can describe this thing is not a cougar. I'm an avid hunter, and I've been up close to cougars before, and this was not one. The eyes were wrong. The back leg joints were too close to the hip joints, causing an awkward walk. We all stared for a few moments after we shined a cheap flashlight at it. It stared back. Its eyes did not reflect like a cat's would. I felt like it was sizing us up to see if it could fight us. After just a few seconds, it ran off, moving its front legs out and forward and dragging along its awkward back legs. Any idea what it was? Any idea what the hell I saw? I had an extremely disconcerting experience late one winter last year. For For context, I live in an extremely isolated community in British Columbia. The forest stretches forever around us, and the next closest town is hours away. It was late December, and I was out in the woods with my mother and telescope to try and catch a glimpse of Jupiter and Saturn in conjunction in the sky. The sun had just set. The snow was deep. By the way, folks, hit that like button for me because it helps me fight the algorithm, okay? Hit it so more people can see my content. And the more people that see my content, the sooner my graphic novel Scumdogs comes out. As well as please go hit that bell and hit the part of the bell that gives you all future notifications. And please go share this video out on Twitter and Facebook. Let's get back to this story. Then we started to hear the screaming. It was this woman's voice just screaming for help. I couldn't even tell if it was human or animal at first, but eventually I could make out the words, help me, but it was all so animalistic. We called the police and I went to go look for her and I got totally lost. The snow was so deep and the trail seemed to just disappear. I was hearing her voice and yelling that help was coming and to keep shouting so that I could find her. I know the area and I know these trails, but everything just melted away and I felt as though I was almost being watched. Then things get really weird. Okay, what do you think, huh? I'm getting closer to hear another voice coming from that spot. I see a flash of light, a flash of a fox in my peripheral vision, turn a corner and suddenly stop. This massive red fox is standing there, staring right into my soul. I swear its eyes were almost human. The snow was too deep to get around it, and it wouldn't move at all. I screamed at it and threw snow and sticks, but it just watched me. It wouldn't let me pass. I've seen so many foxes here, but I swear to someone, something was different about this one. In a weird protective way, it was like it knew me and I knew it. Then the 911 operator called me so I could guide the police to the scene. Since we were pretty far in the bush, I was totally lost and confused. I'm trying to find my way back and then see the fox again. It watches me and then slips back away into the forest. Suddenly I see these fox tracks in the snow and following them. Then I pop out of the bush within 20 meters of two armed police officers. The police and the fire department searched into the night and found nothing. In the spring, 2 or 3 kilometers from the site in the opposite direction of where I heard the screams, they found what was left of a woman's body. With the F did I almost run into that night, and what was protecting me? Interesting. Very, very interesting stories we just read, huh, folks? Dogman Cryptid Canine was a story right here, so let's get into it. Let's see. Feel free to leave me a few chats, folks. I'd love to hear from you guys, okay? And feel free to talk about anything because I want to hear your chats. In 2002, just 2 weeks before Christmas, I decided to go coyote hunting by myself. I was having trouble sleeping. No one knew I had left, as it's around 11:38 p.m. No cell phones of any kind. Bad idea. I started my trek, as always, down a well-used trail until I reached a steep section covered in with multiflora rose bushes. However, I had previously cut a path, and it wasn't hard to navigate, even in the snow that had been falling. I continued down the hill until reaching the large ravine that sets not too far behind my house. Then, moving to my left, I went about another 100 yards or so to where the terrain planes out and you can cross a shallow stream. I crossed the stream and proceeded to walk up the long snow-covered hillside trail. After reaching the top, I went into the action, setting up all my gear and finding a spot with a good book rest and nice firing lines. My back rested against a large pile of crushed slate. My shotgun leveled across my knees. I quietly sat there, getting colder and colder as more snow covered me by the minute. After 45 minutes to an hour, I decided to quit and pack everything up. This was when things got scary. I grabbed my red filtered male candle power field spotlight when I turned it on, and I saw it around 10 feet away, nose to the ground in my direction on all fours. The light coming on didn't even startle or phase the creature. It's like it knew right where I was and knew the light would be on it, and at any second. It then took a step toward me and lifted up onto two legs. It didn't creak or crack when standing up. The only noise that I could note was a low, deep sounding pop in the rib sternum area. It stretched out and puffed its chest as if it wasn't big enough. I would have said that it was at least 7 to 8 feet tall, with 5-finger hands with 2-inch claws. The cryptid canine never did open its mouth, so I can't comment on teeth. It took a step toward me as I had my shotgun already leveled. I fired a shot that hit in the right mid upper portion of its ribs. Mind you, that hitting someone that close with a 12-gauge shotgun usually causes a major hole, and nothing could walk away from it. I was using a two shot, and the wad would have barely opened by the time it hit the creature. The shot let loose a mist of blood in the red-tinged light in the sparking lamp. It let out a loud yelp, then tucked its ears and ran to my right. It made it out into the light circle in 2 strides. I fired 2 more times at it, but it was much too quick, and I missed it. I got up and started walking in the direction it ran, forgetting momentarily to reload my shotgun. Momentarily, walking in the direction it ran. Yeah. I walked for about 10 feet and found a large red pool of blood, then walked a few more feet and found less blood. The process repeated until I was around 30 feet from where I initially started, and there's no blood to be, just footprints. It's as if the thing could quickly regenerate or something to heal itself, or of such massive wound. I stopped and realized how stupid I was for going about after this thing after it just got wounded. I didn't know if there may have been more of these creatures in the area, or if they hunted in packs. I just thought I encountered a real-life werewolf. I then trudged home in the night, and with a surely wounded God knows what potentially circling me the whole way up as I go. I took my time getting back. It took me 2 hours to walk about what normally took 20, 30 minutes. I made it back home. I went to bed and never spoke of that night again until 2019. I hardly hunt anymore due to health problems. But even if I was healthy, going back out there where you would always be looking over your shoulder. However, I'm working on getting a group of professional cryptid researchers to come take a look at Look. Interesting. This incident occurred in, Greene County, Pennsylvania. Well, I was impressed with James' description of the incident over the telephone. I believe maybe James does as well that with the creature may have appeared suddenly before him and managed by the same supernatural means. Tracking the creature was somewhat easy since there was 4 to 5 inches of new snow. Hey, folks, I'm back. Sorry about that. My internet has been wonky. Uh, let's get back to what we were doing. We're looking at cryptid stories. We're having a cryptid corner tonight and having some fun. Let's look at some more stories and getting right into it, huh? Let me do this. Here we are. Bigfoot. Deer chasing Sasquatch and carried by hunters. Let's look at this story. A pair of bow hunting, a couple of guys encountered a Sasquatch chasing deer in Florida. The creature would alternate between crawling and running upright. Strange, upright, huh? All right. I had several. Here, let's get into this. I had several experiences throughout the years hunting that I was able to explain them away up until our 1995 trip to the Florida Panhandle. 95 hunting season started out normal and we were enjoying our vacation, but noticed the deer were not as active as they usually were. We had the forest to ourselves, so we always put our tree stands close to the hunt camp. Their open area around the camp always followed for great visibility, and the deer were usually abundant. A few days enjoying a morning hunt on a nice clear day, and the forest was extremely quiet. The sun had been up for a couple of hours when I saw the two deer run into the clearing about hundreds of yards away from my stand. They were headed towards my friend's stand, which was about 100 yards to my left. Chasing deer was what looked like to be a man dressed in black. The man was keeping up with the deer, which was the first thing I found odd. Another strange thing was the way he seamlessly switched between running and crawling. That is something. That is something. This guy, the hunter, thought he was a guy. He would crawl when in the thick bush and run in the clear areas. They went by my friend first, then towards me. As they got closer to me, I got a good downward view of what I thought was a man. He was crawling toward me when I noticed he wasn't wearing clothes, but it was covered with hair. He was about 6.5 feet tall and built like a basketball player with extremely long arms. The hair was dark brown and longer on the back of his head and arms. He was crawling, not relying on his hands, but instead using them to separate the bushes while he snaked his way forward. I noticed his long arms didn't seem to taper down, but seemed to be the same diameter the entire length. I couldn't see the face from my view, but noticed his head seemed to swivel up on his shoulders in an odd way. The crawling motion reminded me of a lizard or snake, the way his hips swayed. I thought I was discovering a new species, wanted a better look at the face of the creature. I remember debating in my mind about making a noise in order to get it to stop and look my way. My fear was that if I turned my way, it would forget about the deer and come after me instead. When they were about 20 or 25 yards away from me, I let out a gasp. The creature stopped and stood and turned toward me. He saw me in my tree stand almost instantly, and we stared at each other for what seemed like a minute. The adrenaline was pumping, and I thought my heart was going to jump right out of my chest. It felt like I was looking at his face, through a tunnel. I remember that the face wasn't human, which increased the tunnel vision. In fact, his eyes were large and almond-shaped. Very little whites. The eye color was a dark brown. He opened his mouth and gave me a snarling look. His teeth were square, larger than normal, and a few were broken. The mouth was huge, and the look he gave me was a mix of anger and surprise. He definitely didn't expect to see a human up a tree, and he didn't seem happy to see me. I was relieved when he turned his attention back to the deer and continued his chase into the thick tree line. Just a minute or so after that, I heard what sounded like the deer meaning their fate. It took several minutes for my heart and breathing to return to normal. The reprieve didn't last long, as I had my second look at this creature. About 30 minutes later, he walked out about 80 yards from me, staring at me from the same tree line he had disappeared from earlier. He stood there looking at me for a few minutes, but it felt like much longer than at that point. I couldn't make out any details, just a dark figure standing upright. He eventually slipped back into the trees. When I made my way back to camp, I asked my friend if he saw this man in a black and he said yes. I told my friend about the dirty look the man gave me. He told me that he didn't want to talk about it. When I asked him why, he didn't want to talk about it. He got agitated again and said he didn't want to talk about it. I knew my friend well enough to know he was serious, so we dropped the subject. I didn't sleep much that night because I couldn't get the being's face out of my head. About 3:30 a.m., I heard bipedal footsteps around the camp. In our tent, our only weapons were bows and hunting knives that we stored in the tent at night. I laid there trying to come up with a defense plan. Fortunately, the intruder left as fast as it arrived. I mentioned what I heard to my friend the next morning. He didn't reply. I wonder how now if he heard the same thing but said not to talk about it. I kept telling myself that it was just a man dressed in black. I was in denial and shock, which caused several weeks of nightmares. I had nobody to talk about this encounter, so I kept it to myself. I had to tell myself over and over again that it was just a man so I could finally sleep again. I spent a total of 8 net bow seasons at that location, and I had many other experiences that I managed to put in my back of my mind. I didn't think much of my experience until I started checking out into the Sasquatch subject on YouTube about 7 years ago. I believe these were all Sasquatch related. My family thinks I'm crazy, but I know that what I saw. I feel fortunate that I had these experiences, but I don't believe I would hunt in the Panhandle ever again. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's very interesting. Very, very interesting. I hope I hope you guys didn't mind the interruption too much. We're sitting here looking at various cryptid stories and having fun. Now, let's see about this. Bigfoot observed wading across the river, experienced and described several unexplained incidents. Now, let's look at this. Describer, these several different experiences. An experience, could look at this, I suppose. Maybe, possible dogman encounter terrifies Michigan rescuer. Well, let's look at this. Michigan, some guy living in Michigan, huh? Oh, let's look at this. A Michigan teen is alarmed to see a large, mysterious wolf-like creature neighbor's yard. I slowly come closer and eventually stands upright. Was this a dogman? 3 nights ago, I saw something that I still can't fully understand or explain. I live in mid-Michigan in a small residential suburban town surrounded by cornfields. However, I do live in the more populated area. My parents' houses, where I currently reside, is located within walking distance of our downtown. Our street is by no means desolate, dark, or isolated. Most of the houses are fairly close to one another, a pretty urban setting. It was about 2:30 a.m., and since it's pretty normal for me to be up that late, me and my dog have developed what I call our little routine. He comes to my door and lets out a huff to inform me that he's there. Then we go downstairs where I left him outside through the front door to his bushes. After completing, he comes in and we share a midnight snack of ham straight from that fridge. Now, keep in mind, my dog is extremely well trained and very old. He doesn't need a leash or a fence to keep him from running away. He always comes right back when he's done. He'll even wait at the door if you aren't there. So on this particular night, I opened the door for him, and I'm just about to walk away so I can prepare our midnight snack when I notice he's still standing on the porch staring across the street. Isn't completely out of the norm for him, but this was lasting a bit longer than usual. When he finally jumps off the porch, I follow his line of sight where he had been staring. I see what looks like a large dog or maybe even a wolf slinking across my neighbor's yard on the other side of the street. For the first few seconds, I'm trying to figure out, yeah, what are you looking at? This thing is. Yeah. Figure out this thing is. What this thing is. Yeah, what are you looking at, huh? Because it looks like it could be a dog with something. Ooh, Bob Rogers, Little Miss Sunburn. Hail, Bob Rogers, Little Miss Sunburn. Thank you for coming to the Scumdog's Kennel. We're having another cryptid corner where I just basically look at cryptid stories and have some fun. So feel free to listen and hit that like button. Anyone who has not hit, please hit that like button, as well as because it helps me fight the algorithm, as well as hit that bell, hit the part of the bell that gives you all future notifications. And please go share this video on Twitter and Facebook. As we're looking at this cryptid story where this guy encounters a dog man. A bit long. Let me get back to it. I follow his line of sight where I had been staring, and what I see looks like a large dog, trying to figure out what it is. Things because it looks like it could be a dog, but something isn't right. It's too long, and the way it's moving isn't normal. Yeah, the way it's moving isn't normal. Even though it was about 50 feet away, it looked as though it was blurry. I can't think of any other way to describe it. None of it made sense. At this point, I go out into a panic mode because so far this creature hasn't seemed to notice me or my dog, but it does. But if it does, my dog doesn't stand a chance. Like I said, he's old, and also what should I say? It's one of the whatever this thing is. He's got a small dog there. It would destroy him, and no doubt. I decided to slowly open the outer glass door, hoping to create just enough noise to alert my dog that it's time to come in, but not enough to whatever that thing is to hear me too. Luckily, my dog notices right away and starts running back towards me. But at the same time, the dog creature starts turning towards me slowly. It almost felt like fake how it looked. It moved like animatronics or something. I'm not even sure what I'm looking at. Shoot the dog. Which, the dog man or what? Bob Rogers. Here we have this guy basically trying to rescue his little dog from this big thing that's out in the neighbor's yard. And his dog's coming towards him, but also the other thing has noticed them both. These guys, wow. Let's see this. How unnatural move. What I'm looking at here. But I have the indescribable feeling that I'm not supposed to be seeing this. So as this thing is turning to look at me, my dog is coming through the door, and simultaneously, and for about 1 second, I take my eyes off the creature thing to look down at my dog and close the door. When I look back up, this thing has moved about 30 feet to the left into my neighbor's driveway rather than their yard, and is standing on its hind legs around 7 to 8 feet tall. It was looking at him. Now I'm really freaked out. How did it move so quickly? And how did it not make a single sound? How is it so tall? I literally, yeah. Well, he looked away for maybe a second. I look away again. I locked the door and to gather myself, and only to look again to see absolutely nothing. It was gone. That is interesting, isn't it, folks? Ooh, boy. This whole ordeal only lasted maybe 20 to 30 seconds total. Shaking, I give my dog his ham and mine, and I run downstairs to my brother's room in the basement to tell him what happened. Being a normal 19-year-old playing video games, his response was, "Whoa, that's super weird, but honestly, I just needed to tell someone." Yeah, but to confirm what just actually happened, and that I wouldn't wake up the next day and convince myself it was a dream. Only the last few days I've told anyone who would listen, including my parents. Those who are closer to me seemed a bit more unnerved because, like I mentioned earlier, I don't usually believe in this type of thing. They could tell I was shaking by whatever it was that I saw tonight after some random Googling as a result. I came across what appears to be the exact description of what I saw. The dog man. I never heard anything about it before, but I am now fully convinced I saw in front of me my very own eyes, and it saw me too. Bob Rogers, I know a guy who used nunchucks to kill a dog just for it, huh? I don't think he lived very long much after. That sounds very bad. It does sound kind of bad there, but thank you for thanks for it, or whatever. Let's get a look at some more cryptid stories, shall we? Possible spider walking Bigfoot shocks witnesses near falls. Look at this. Real resident aliens. Maybe I'll look at this. Real resident aliens part something. Should I look at this? Maybe let's see, got so many stories to look at. Bigfoot observed wading across Casa River, Michigan, against the river, Michigan. Here, this Bigfoot is seen while crossing a river and stuff. A group known as the Rocky Mountain Sasquatch Organization received a report in early July after an individual named Eddie, who claimed that their cousins spotted the creature while kayaking in the Cass River in Michigan. I initially thought this may have been a female Bigfoot with a deer slung over his left shoulder, but there are times when it seems to be carrying something else, possibly a kid Bigfoot, a juvenile Bigfoot. Have I read this story before? Maybe, but here's pictures of it. At least something. If it's look at this. The video can be found at Michigan Bigfoot Video Crossing. Which the video, then look at the screenshots. What is your opinion? Very well, could be. Look at this. Interesting. I don't want to get a copyright strike, so maybe I shouldn't look at this video. Michigan River.
It happened. It just came out of nowhere. A bus.
I suppose we could look at it.
Eddie B from Michigan. He sent us this photo, and then he was having difficulty sending the video.
Let's just get to the video itself. So where is it? Here we are. There's that. Okay, that was interesting, huh, folks? You don't want to look at the entire thing, but yeah, that was a Bigfoot apparently right there. Interesting. That's interesting. Now, maybe look at some other stories. We got a few minutes in. We got people leaving chats. Let's see. Have you guys hit that like button? Not doing too bad. If you have not yet, folks, please hit that like button. It really helps me fight the algorithm. Let's see. Terrifies Michigan. Weird deer constantly observed campers in a peak. Well, it was observing them in Utah, in a peak in Utah. My buddies and I were in a lone peak, Utah, with a plan to sleep under the stars and leave the next day. So we got everything set up, decided to go swim in the lake. On our way back, we saw a single deer with abnormally large eyes and ears. It had an odd proportions in general. Grown up in Utah Valley, Utah my whole life, and I've seen thousands of deer, so I knew that what they usually look like and act like. The deer was sitting on a rock like a dog, and it turned its head to watch us without giving any reaction. Its head seemed to turn and follow while its body stayed perfectly still. It almost looked like its head was detached from its body. I decided that it was just an odd occurrence and that I should just ignore it. This was at 4 p.m. Okay. All right. About 30 minutes later, while we were at our campsite, we saw the same deer chasing another, but it stopped and continued to look at us for maybe 5 minutes. When we all looked away, it just disappeared. Maybe it took off as soon as we looked away, but this was also odd. 30 minutes after that, we saw the same deer probably 200 yards away up on the side of the hill overlooking us. It stayed there for at least 45 minutes just staring at us. The fourth time we saw it was later around 9:30 p.m. when we were in our sleeping bags, currently ready to go to sleep. The deer came up from the river that we were next to, probably 20 feet away, and just looked at us again for maybe 2 minutes and then went back down. The same thing happened again, the same spot 15 minutes later. It almost seemed to be checking if we had gone to sleep. It continued to check on us one more time 15 minutes later. At this point, I was a bit freaked out, but I didn't want to say anything because I was afraid my friends would say I was imagining things. So we all tried to go to bed, and about 10:45, we started hearing something maybe 10 feet away, just under the hill that led to where the river was. We continued to hear it sounded like a deer walking in the river and coming to check on us. Every time it would get close, we would start talking and shine our lights into the trees to see if we could see anything. This happened enough that we grabbed everything and left at midnight. On our way down, my buddy said they kept seeing silhouettes off to our sides. The entire way down, we keep seeing weird things like a deer interesting. Yeah, seeing weird. Yeah, Seeing weird things like a deer right next to the road staring at the mountainside at literally nothing, not moving or reacting or gazing. We continue to see more and more deer that were behaving oddly, but remember that we have all seen thousands of deer just up that canyon itself. They have never behaved like that. Interesting. Getting pretty good into this. Maybe I have a time for another story. Interesting. This is very cool. What we looked at so far. Let's see here. It's the real resident possible dogman country is terrible and disappointing screams alarm friends in Idaho. Criminal complaint filed against MUFON. Let's see what else I look at. We're almost down to the end of this live stream anyway. So should I end it now? Maybe. Had some fun tonight, didn't we, folks? We looked at some cryptids and had a lot of fun. Bob Rogers, 10-foot Yeti. 10-foot Yeti, yeah, that's a big thing, isn't it? Thank you, Bob Rogers, Luma Sunburn, for hanging out at the Cryptid Corner. Had some fun tonight and had a lot of fun. Feel free to hit that like button, as well as please go and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Read Comics They're Bad For You. Remember, the there is misspelled, it's THERE. Hit that like button, as I said. Leave some comments down below. Let's see, what else? Hit the bell and hit the part of the bell that gives you all future notifications. Also, please go share this video on Twitter and Facebook. Now, also, please go over to rumble.com and subscribe to my Rumble channel. The name of my Rumble channel is Comic Freak. All right. Also, please go over and 10-inch Yeti. Yeah, I guess is it big or not? I know it's only 10 inches, but yeah, Yeti. Thank you for another chat, Bob Rogers, Little Miss Sunburn. All right. Also, please go over to Stitch Together Pics. Stitch Together Pics is a YouTube channel that deserves far more subscribers. It's hosted by the maniacal cinephile, and you're going to love his reviews of movies. His reviews are fun. He plays this character who has he plays this character called the maniacal cinephile on his videos, and they are fun to watch. He does such funny stuff. It's just good. That's Stitch Together Pics. Also, please go over and subscribe to my BitChute channel. The name of my BitChute channel, go over to bitchute.com and subscribe to my BitChute channel. The name of my BitChute channel is Comic Freak. All right, anything else? Yeah. Also, please go over and subscribe to Creepy Little Book. Creepy Little Book is like the Art Bell radio show. He does little videos talking about high strangeness, but he also does live streams every night. He live streams on weekdays at 12:30 a.m. and on weekends at 10 o'clock p.m. He talks about aliens and ghosts, and you got to love his live streams. They are so good. Go and subscribe to Creepy Little Book. All right, other stuff to do. Remember, folks, I'll be back again tomorrow around 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock. Oh, Bob Rogers, Little Miss Sunburn. Lol, Chris. Lol, yes. Hello, Bob Rogers. See you later. Thank you for checking into the Scumdog's Kennel. But as I was saying, please come back tomorrow around 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, 8 or 11 o'clock p.m. for another live stream. I'm Chris Williams from the Scumdog's Kennel. Thank you all for joining me. All right. Should I end it now? Maybe I should go a few minutes more. That was fun. We talked about that. And because Little Miss Sunburn's left me a few more chats here, I can just go a few more minutes. So there's that as well to consider. But either way, we looked at a lot of cryptid stories tonight and had some fun. A lot of fun tonight. What else to say? That was interesting. People keep seeing Dogman and Bigfoot. We looked at some interesting stuff. We had a lot of fun. What are these creatures? That Bigfoot in the river looked pretty realistic, yeah. It didn't really look like a costume, but I'm not so sure it was real. I don't think it was CG either. Now, the other stories were also interesting to consider as well. But what could they possibly have been? All of it is highly entertaining to read about. So there's that to consider as well. A lot of fun. I'm trying to think of an idea here. Let's see. Definitely interesting what we did tonight. But feel free to come back tomorrow. We'll have even more fun than tomorrow, folks. So be sure to come back. Bob Rogers, Loma Sunburn. I'll be back, Chris. Yep. Thank you. Just basically, I'm talking to you while I basically get this run out the clock here and stuff. But thank you for checking in, Bob Rogers, Sunburn. It's so much fun to hear from you guys, and I love the chats. I love to talk to my fans. By the way, folks, check out when my Indiegogo is up. When my graphic novel Scumdogs is up on Indiegogo, go back it, and feel free to basically come to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Read Comics, they're bad for you. I'll be back again tomorrow. I'm Chris Williams from the Scumdogs Kiln. Thank you all for joining me. Yeah, thank you all for joining me.